Ja men hej på er, här har ni med igen, Tvtimsweden, och här har jag en väldigt speciell gäst från USA. Det här är ju Itsseandaniel, hans kanal heter Itsseandaniel. Och han är här i Sverige och tittar till immigrantsituationen, hur vi har det i Stockholm, Malmö, han har varit i Rinkeby och lite överallt och tittat och intervjuat folk från hela Mellanöstern och vart de nu kommer ifrån. Och nu är han i Malmö, bor ute på landet i Husie. Och jag har kört runt honom lite, visat honom Möllevångstorget, vi har varit ute och käkat lite. Han har precis blivit intervjuad av Frihetsnytt. Och senare idag ska jag köra runt honom och visa de finare delarna av Malmö, Limhamn och Ribersborg och Slottstaden här. Inför min resa tillbaks till Florida, USA som blir på torsdag. Så att vi får väl säga välkomna till programmet Itsseandaniel.
I'm gonna act like I understood that.
So here I am then in Malmö with Itsseandaniel, his channel Itsseandaniel. I started to watch this guy maybe a year ago, and then you turned up on Riks last week. How was that? How did you come onto that Swedish channel?
So my lovely outreach manager, aka my fiance, was contacting all these people in places we were going, like in Italy, then Sweden, and got connected to one of the guys who's connects with the Swedish Democrats, kind of. And then he said, "Oh, Riks will love to have you on." And I was like, "Riks? What? What's Riks?" Mm-hmm. And it's like our big Swedish Nordic TV thing that has big reach. And so I went to the studio, and it was my first ever studio interview. I've worked for guys in the U.S. like Officer Tatum, other Turning Point people, and I've been in studios, Fox News, some other TV studios, but I'd never been there for me. So it was wild to walk in, and then they had this whole set, and they were like, "Come down, we want to ask you questions," and I'm like, so it was very thrilling, but also humbling at the same time.
But you thought that you were able to get out the information that you wanted to tell them about your experience, in this case in Stockholm. You went to Rinkeby and other so-called no-go zones, and how did you feel about that? What type of people did you meet, and did you interact and talk to them, and how did that feel to see Stockholm and then go to no-go zones, and what was your experience overall?
So when I went to Riks, I hadn't gone anywhere yet. It was like the first day we got there, and they asked me about the previous stuff I did in Slovenia and Italy, and it was a fun time talking to them to share what I've seen, and especially from an American perspective, because I know so much of the people that watch Riks love like U.S. politics, the conservative side. But in Sweden, what we've seen, or what we saw in Stockholm, the first thing we saw that shocked us was when we landed at the airport at like 11:30 at night. We couldn't believe how many Somali passengers there were, like walking with us towards the train or towards the taxi area. And I had been in Minnesota, where it's kind of run over with a lot of Somalis, and you mostly see them working there. But to see how many people were in the airport at 11:30 showed me how many residents there were, immigrants. And to see that was the first thing that was shocking.
Were they coming back from Somalia, you think? Or
I don't know where they were coming back from, but possibly. Mm-hmm. And like there was a family of like 6 or 5 right in front of us walking towards the taxis. We saw many people waiting that were Somalis, it looked like, and I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Feels like a different country sometimes.
Yeah, because you expect, and almost all the taxi drivers looked African.
Yeah, we have that problem in Sweden overall, that bus drivers, taxi drivers, even now in drugstores and many other stores, somehow the state of Sweden or our politicians are pushing in people from the Middle East, because they need to fit in, they need to assimilate and so on. But for us who lives here, Swedes, we see it as our own country is becoming more and more Middle East and Africa. And that's why it's not going to work if the percentage gets too high. And I guess that's what you experienced in Rinkeby too. Now Rinkeby is a so
we went to the no-go zone.
No-go zone, yeah. But and that's what I told you before. If I remember correctly, our Social Democrat government in the 70s and 80s, when they came from all kinds of countries, we placed them there. We made them go to Rinkeby, Tensta, and in Malmö's case, Kroksbäck and Rosengård, And of course, that became areas that they so-called took over, because no Swedes want to live there anymore. So they move out, just like in Manhattan now, people are going to move out. And that makes those areas become a different world in a way.
And that's what it felt like when we got there. Yeah. Like it was another world. We had heard only negative stuff from the political people we were connected to, where they were like, you got to be careful. We want to send some people with you. We couldn't find anyone to go with us, unfortunately. So it was just me and her. And we were walking around Rinkeby, and we could really see it was.
But that was Iraqis and all kinds of Middle East people.
Middle East, yeah.
Yeah.
Like in Rinkeby, in Husby, in Tensta, you could just going through the Silicon Valley over there of Stockholm, where that mall, there's a mall there, and it was just, there was some whites, but it was mostly, it didn't look like Sweden.
And then when you came down to Malmö, you went to Rosengård Centrum. How was Rosengård Centrum? Because that's a scary place for some people sometimes.
That was the only place where we really didn't film, because we didn't feel that comfortable. It was disappointing. Like we went through the little centrum, Rosengård Centrum, and there was just tons and tons of Middle East men. It was a Saturday, sitting around drinking and eating and stuff, and we were like, oh my God, I would love to film this, but we didn't. And then when we were walking through the is it Rosengård or Rosengård?
No, Rosengård.
Rosengård area, we had these a group of three, like 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds, be a little aggressive verbally. Not that bad, but they started calling us and saying we were undercover police. What are you doing here? And I was like, holy shit, this is the attitude you deal with when you're a white walking in the no-go zones?
Yeah, you don't feel at home there at all anymore. But you also mentioned that when you came to the house where you stay, you met some guys from Syria, right? And they told you that this is what you can expect, right?
The Syrian guys, all the immigrants, when you start talking to them, most of them are just like open books. And they just started telling us how they came legally or illegally, the benefits they got, the crime that goes on here. A lot of the immigrants, though, like them, they talk more highly of the area. Like, oh yeah, it's fine, it's nice, you're fine. You go there, no problem. And then you go there as a white and you don't feel that welcome. But the Syrian guys were wide open about how at least one of them came illegally when they were 12, how they got money, they got housing. They got the Swedish citizenship within 3 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
After coming illegally. Meanwhile, one of the other Syrians who came legally 2 years after his dad came illegally, they went to Denmark, and after 9 years there, doing it with the papers, he still doesn't have a citizenship.
No.
But yet Sweden just throws it out, even if you came illegally.
Yeah, we have had a bad period with the government we have now is not good enough, and the one previously was terrible, and the one before with Fredrik Reinfeldt, that he started this basically in a big scale when he told the whole Swedish population to open your heart, we got to take care of all these refugees, and that's how it started. And then he jumped ship, and another party won, and the Social Democrats came in again with Löfven, and they just continued to pack us up with people from all over the Middle East, and you can see the results now. But let me just ask you, when you were there in Rinkeby and so on, did you ever go into to downtown Stockholm area as well to compare Stockholm downtown with the suburbs, so to say?
Yeah, but not even just downtown. We went to the suburbs like Tabi. We went to Upplands Väsby, Odenslunda, where we were staying, and obviously the center. And so nice. So that's so nice.
Yeah, and that's what I mean with Malmö as well, as you're going to see today. When you came here, we went to Möllevångstorget. We had dinner, and I showed you that this is Sweden. Here is Asia.
So many different cultures in here.
Here's the Iraqi street.
The fact that you said there's an Iraqi street or Iraqi stores, it was like, what?
That area of Bergsgatan from Möllevångstorget, there you have so many Iraq grills, and Iran also. Iran and Iraq, a mix, and they don't even like each other. But they're nice restaurants, great food. When you come in there, they treat you like, very good hospitality. But on the other hand, you can also notice that, sort of come in, eat our food, we'll take your money, and then they go to the mosque and hate us basically. Not all, but you know what I mean. It's a little feeling you get. What I like in Malmö is that we have a lot of kebab kiosks and falafel.
Which you have to take me to one of the better places, you said, right?
I will. But the thing is this, you know, I call myself the mayor of Falafel City.
Okay.
That's my title of my channel, Tvtimsweden. I'm the mayor here. I'm the mayor of Falafel City, and they all laugh because we had 356 kiosks in Malmö where they sell hot dogs, newspapers, candy and ice cream, cigarettes and snus and so on. Now we have one. All of them, 355 are kebab and falafel. And that's not like today. That's years ago that happened. And the ones that have a Swedish flag outside, they speak Swedish. They also have Swedish food. Then we know they're authentic. They want to be a part of our society. If they only have falafel and kebab and they basically don't speak Swedish, then I get a little suspicious.
When you go in and you try to order something there, into these kebab places, into the falafel places, do some places not speak Swedish to you?
They speak Swedish, but some of the newcomers, obviously, they don't know more than the menu. They say, like in Swedish, they say kebab, falafel, Coca-Cola. They only know the words what they're selling, yes or no, ja or nej, you know. So, but that's rare actually, because the people that starts restaurants here, they are very, they have a business, sense of business. So they know we have to be very nice to the Swedish population, otherwise they will not come to our places. But there are also restaurants that only cater to their own community and to their own, and they don't want us there and we don't go there. But that's the whole problem. As way, my country should not be like that. It shouldn't be several countries in one country. It should be that they come here, they integrate, they assimilate, and they welcome us and we welcome them. But this has been a country, Sweden is a country where we have given them so much freedom that they are not afraid of the police, they are not afraid of us. They are more, when they are hostile, Swedes are afraid of them. We are not Vikings anymore. we are a little...
passive and like...
Yeah, a little weak.
Politically correct.
I even call the police here in Sweden Velling police. Velling is what you give little children, you know, milk. You know, milk, like breastfeeding. we call them a milk police. Like,
and they probably feed off that, where they realize they can get away with crap.
They do. I mean, we had a situation here in Malmö. There is actually a TV show called The Thin Blue Line, Den Tunna Blå Linjen, which is a police series about Malmö, where you see only black people and Middle East people doing all these crimes, and the police is chasing them. So these actors, who are they? They're actually participating in a TV show showing how it actually is, that themselves are criminals in that way, which is crazy to me. They are in Rosengård, they're all over the place. But then in real life, when something happens and these kids from the Middle East are throwing stones and rocks on the police cars, the mothers with this head thing on, what do you call it, the scarf, or the burqa, niqab and so on, they give the stones to the kids. They stand there and feed them stones to throw at the police. And the police withdraw and say, we can't do anything because there were some innocent people in the crowds, maybe. So they get away with everything in a way. And I've also talked to judges, people in the courtrooms here in Malmö, and they say that we get threatened. They say the name of our kids. I know where your grandchildren are going to a daycare center and a school, and if you don't set my murderer friend or bank robber friend or whatever it is, rapist, if you don't set him free when he comes to court, we will kill your grandchildren. How will a judge, a woman 50 years old, how will she dare to sentence a guy if she's threatened like that, you know?
So you're saying the gangs really have that big of a...
Some, not all maybe, but it happens all the time. You can see, just like they do in New York now with, what do you call it, no bail policy. I heard today that this Mandani guy, if he becomes mayor of New York, he's going to continue this policy where you get caught for some crime, a rape or burglary or something, and they just go to court and they get released the same day without bail. I mean, how's that going to work? And that's basically how it is.
New York's going to go to shit.
I know, and that's what's happening here if we don't... We have time to stop it. The percentage of Muslim immigrants, it's not that high in Sweden, but we have a problem that they are very loud. They protest and scream against Israel all the time, and they get so many Swedes on the left to join them. And the community of leftists in Sweden, they don't know what they're doing, because they're pro-pride, they're pro-transgender, they're pro-vegans, and so on. And those are the people that Hamas will they will be first thrown
off the building.
Yeah.
That brings me to what we saw in Rosengård Library. I didn't tell you, we saw a whole section in Rosengård Library in the center of the biggest immigrant community of Malmö, a whole section in the children's area of the library dedicated to promoting LGBTQ+.
Yeah.
Which is insane, not only because they're kids, but also because that's an Islamic community.
I can tell you another story about that that's even more crazy in a way. Because here in Malmö, maybe other places in Sweden, but here in Malmö, in the spring, we turn our beautiful green park benches in the parks, we turn them into rainbow benches.
Oh, in June?
Yeah, so no, for the whole summer.
For the whole summer?
They take out the green wood, what do you call them?
Little pillars kind of.
Yeah. Take them off and put on the pride colors, the rainbow colors. But it's the unemployment Muslims that do that work. They take the unemployment Muslims from unemployment situations. They have to go to certain classes or certain courses, do some work in order to get their state money, So it's Muslims building
going
these,
and painting pride
doing
flags.
the work and doing these pride benches in the parks and taking up the pride flags on the soccer stadiums. And it's even worse. You have young children from the Middle East, girls that are like 17, 18 years old. They get an orange vest and they are, so to say, protecting the audience on soccer matches when the different teams are screaming and fighting and behaving like criminals sometimes. They have the Bengals, the fireworks and the stuff at soccer games, which are not allowed to do, but the police they don't do anything. So I'm going to sit there as a Swede on my soccer match here in Malmö, and small, like young girls from the Middle East are going to protect me. And then I talk to the guards. Why don't you do anything? It's not my job, it's the police. So I ask the police, why don't you do anything? Oh, they talk to the girls. What do you mean talk to? What are they going to do against big gangs of 50, 60 strong guys? You send in 18-year-old Muslim girls with orange vests. They can't do anything. So a lot of stuff that is just completely insane, actually, how they do it.
What? Do you think that do you think it's like a planned thing?
Yeah, it's planned.
By the city to get, first of all, the Muslim community comfortable with the pride thing?
That's number one. And then you have also, like for instance, I have always asked, how come that there is no, let's say, beach policy? In Sweden, we are very, we're very neat on our beaches. We don't throw out garbage. We don't do a barbecue and throw plastic and all.
But them,
so they just take the cars in some places, not all of them again, but I usually say on my channel, I don't judge the individual. I judge the ideology of Islam. Because when they come here with that culture, you can clearly see that they don't fit in our society. No. They drive with their cars up on the beaches, they have a barbecue, they throw out garbage and shit, and they just jump in the car and drive, and somebody else has to clean up. And they go in the ocean and they swim with a burqa on. Like, what do you do in the ocean with that? And they have the kids with them, and the kids don't have it, so it looks ridiculous, The husband is sitting next, smoking a cigarette. On the other side of the boardwalk, the woman is going down with a kneecap in the water. And beautiful young girls, 18, 19 years old, Swedish and from other countries, with their Muslim friends. And those girls have we call it slöja. They have that on. So we ask them, you're in Sweden now, you're free. You're beautiful just as the Swedish girls. Why don't you take that off, show your hair? Some are willing to answer, I'm a Muslim, I do whatever I want. Some say that they're forced by their parents, and some don't want to talk to you. But we all know that it comes from the Muslim Brotherhood.
Which is what you were talking to me about before.
They push it in, and most Swedes that are on the left, just like about Donald Trump, they don't want to talk about it, they don't know anything, they're brainwashed by the Swedish media. Because if you go to any Swedish store, you see the newspaper from Aftonbladet, Expressen and so on, you see the front page when you walk in, and it always says, it's the last day of Putin, he's going to die in cancer. Trump is a king, he's going to take over America, he's not following the constitution. There is no problem with Islamism in Sweden, it's only, it's just they push and push and push, day after day after day. And if you Google brainwashing, That's exactly what's going on. The population is just, well, I don't see a problem. I live here in Slottsstaden in Malmö. I don't see a problem. So if I don't see a problem in one park, I don't see a problem in the whole town. But you do, because you walk around and you see the different areas.
Yeah, it's
and our media, our TV, they rarely go around and actually show it as a problem. They show it as, oh, it's very nice people, we gotta help them, give them more money, or something. So the Muslim, sorry, you have to say, this is even worse also when it's Ramadan, and they have Arab film festival, they have Arab music festivals. They get millions and millions of crowns every quarter. And Swedish young organizations, if we file for something, we don't get anything.
So do you think that many Swedes are fed up with the situation? Because we've seen the rise with the Swedish Democrats getting more and more seats in the Swedish parliament? Or they're not really, the majority of Swedes are not that fed up with the immigration situation?
Yeah, like I said, I think it depends on what politic stance you have, what party you vote for. The Sweden Democrats are growing, yes. They could come close to 30% in the next election, which is in October next year. But the thing is that a lot of people that want us to support smaller parties that are outside the Riksdag, outside the 8 big parties who is running the government and the opposition, they are complaining that SD, the Sweden Democrats, they have failed in regards of their promises in the last election. Suddenly they're a pro-EU. They started out as an against EU party, and now they are pro-NATO, and they were against NATO. So they turn after the other parties, like the moderates and the Christ Democrats, KD, and the liberals. So they want to fit in, because now he's in the warm living room, as they say. He makes his money, he's in there, he's legit, he's in the media, he's in every channel like everybody else. They don't call him Nazis or right-wing or Hitler anymore like they did before.
And the Swedish Democrats would get more backlash once they're in the system if they kept following through on the campaign promises.
So here is the thing in Sweden, the next election, I'm very scared that the Social Democrats with Magdalena Andersson will win again, because there are so many people in Sweden thinking like the New Yorkers, like with this Mandani guy, whatever his name is. They think that, okay, nothing happened during these 4 years with the Sweden Democrats and the other right-wing parties, so we can just as well vote for the Social Democrats, because at least we get more free stuff and free money.
But they don't remember that in Sweden it takes a long time for things to manifest in government. But you were talking about, it depends on where you live, you said, about people that think there's a problem with immigration or not a problem.
I think that if you live in the bad or not so good or bad areas in Stockholm, Malmö, Gothenburg, Jönköping, the bigger cities, I think that you have more voters towards the Sweden Democrats in those areas. If you live in smaller cities where there are basically no immigrants or no Muslim immigrants, in those areas or in those towns or cities, I don't think a lot of them votes for the Sweden Democrats. They probably go with what they grew up with, which is the Social Democrats and possibly even the left.
Because they don't never see the issue.
They don't see the issue in that way.
And it's not reported, like you said. That's why it's such a big deal that, like, Riks goes into those areas and films some things, or some of the other Swedish YouTubers talk about it, because you guys have so many stations fighting against showcasing what's really going on. You have the main channel, the state-funded one.
Yeah, we have SVT, we have TV4, we have the radio channels, and then we have a lot of smaller free channels like Riks and Frihetsnytt, where you were just now being interviewed. But I think that the problem is the same as in America. None of us here in Sweden who listens to Trump and supports Trump or likes Trump or whatever, or the Republican Party in a way and so on, we can't understand how is it possible that almost half of America were, sort of say, voting for Biden or Kamala or being leftists in that way. Don't they see that they destroy their own country? And that's what we say to the Social Democrat people that votes for them. Don't you see that they are the ones that brought in this the problems that we have? I mean, why don't the Sweden Democrat gets 90%? Why don't 90% vote for Trump? I don't get it. You don't have to like Trump. You don't have to like Sweden Democrats and Jimmy Åkesson, but their policies will save our country. But for some people, you just don't get through to them in a way, I think.
But you have a unique experience in understanding America because you've lived there.
I came to the US the first time in 1987, and I started to work in New Jersey in 89. I lived a lot in Manhattan in the early 90s and 90s, and also moved down to Miami Beach in the early 90s. And later on I moved to Delray Beach and West Palm Beach. I'm going back to Florida now next week, to Fort Lauderdale. So I've been a lot. I've been in Dallas, Minneapolis. I've been around mostly the Midwest and the East Coast. But even I have seen how it's changed. I mean, Florida for me seems to be like a free country still.
Exactly.
And even Dade County became
Miami,
red.
Dade County.
Yeah. And but Manhattan, I mean, I feel that I don't even want to go back to Manhattan. The way I see it now, the way Trump is talking about it, and my friends who lives in New Jersey and works in Manhattan, they even tell me, Tim, don't come here. It's
Wow.
it's shit, you know.
Wow.
And they see the problems, they see the gangs and the rapes and the criminality growing. So I just don't understand. How can you be a New Yorker and when I listen to Bill O'Reilly, for instance, when he explains New York, I'm like, who are these people voting for AOC and who are they? I don't get it.
All the young people. I saw in Mamdani, he had a recent post in some different areas he went, where they gave him like cakes and celebrated him and stuff. And it was literally 95% of the fans in the photos were all brown or Muslim or immigrant descent, you could tell. It wasn't like, it doesn't look like he has a lot of white supporters. It tells you how many immigrants are in the U.S. Yes, we're a land of immigrants, you know, we have been. But that was shocking to see. And I want to ask you, you've seen the difference in immigration in the U.S. and in Sweden. What do you think is the biggest difference between the immigrants that you've seen in the U.S., legal and illegal, compared to the ones in Sweden?
Well, there are two obvious differences. We are a much smaller country, and we are much closer to the Middle East. So we get it concentrated faster.
Yeah.
You don't see any Minnesota problems if you live in Florida, right?
No, you never see that.
So it's like 50 countries, and then we have Europe. Like if you take Germany, Spain, France, Holland, Belgium, I mean, it's worse than here. It's so many people from the Middle East in those countries that if you count the population, it's terrible in that sense. And it seems that people don't realize that you don't have to blame an individual. You could say to a Muslim woman or man that congratulations, you managed to come to the free world. But then some of them or most of them, I don't know, but we can feel on the streets here in Sweden that they don't behave the way that other immigrants do. We never had problems with Thai people or Italian people or Yugoslavian people when they came 60s, 70s, 80s. And also when they complain about Israel or Jews. I'm always saying that, why do you mix the Swedish Jews with the conflict in Israel? Have we ever had problems with Jews? Are they protesting? Are they throwing rocks at police? Are they doing the gang stuff? Or is it the people from the Middle East? It's quite obvious. So I don't want to say, if some people talk about the Rothschilds or how bad some Jewish organizations are and if Netanyahu is good or bad, what does that have to do with that the Jewish population is not a single problem here in Sweden?
That's a good point. Like the Chinese that you see, the Chinese immigrants, they have nothing to do with their leader in China and the communism over there.
We have like 5 to 50 Thai restaurants in every Swedish city, and we never have any problem with Thai people at all, anywhere.
It's something about the Islamic immigrants.
It's
They seem to come in with a takeover attitude, which you said ties back to the Muslim Brotherhood.
I don't know if you have to edit this out, but but what I call it on my channel in Sweden, I always start my shows when I talk about the immigration problem. I had a section in my Tvtimsweden channel before that I called a window to Malmö, where I actually filmed outside my kitchen window at my former place where I lived before. And I said that people have to understand that Islam is not a religion. It's a very sick ideology, and it's I even call it a psychosocial disease. I call it a psychosocial disease because if you do what you do to children, if you throw your daughter from a balcony and kill her because she is mixed up with a Swedish guy or whatever it is, and they are forced to wear these burqa and niqab and slöja, as we say, hyckle, and so on, then they come to a free country, but they're not free. And who are holding them hostage? It's the ideology Islam that is holding them hostage. It's not our country.
No, that's true. And they give them the opportunity to have freedom, but you see that so many walk around with the hijabs and with all the coverings and stuff, and yet they don't have to. You know, they don't have to. They're in Sweden, and I feel like they assimilate better in the U.S. immigrants.
Because I think that
But we also don't have like the North African immigrants like you guys do.
No, you have Somalian areas.
Now in Minnesota.
Yeah. But like I said, the U.S. is so big of a country, like it's almost like 50 countries in a way. So I guess you don't see the problems and that's the dangerous part. Because we didn't see it in Sweden either 10, 15 years ago. It sneaked up on us and took over. Now it's basically too late.
But we have so much promotion by charismatic political leaders, so much media coverage, that even if we don't see it or go to it, we hear about it in the news, or we hear Trump or someone else talk about it. So it gets us pissed off. You know, I've never been to the border at Mexico, but I've heard about the numbers, and you see the effect in your town, but even if you didn't, you see it on the news, and you get more pissed off. And it seems like in Sweden they have limited visibility on what's going on through the news.
You've never been to the border in Mexico, but at least you have, in contrast to Kamala Harris, you can say that you have been to Europe. Because she even said, I haven't been to Europe.
Yeah, it's the same.
Remember that one? Oh man, she was terrible. But I have a question for you. Most of my Swedish friends are telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to Trump. He's definitely a dictator. He did not win the 2020 election. He's a dangerous guy. He's doing it for the money. He wants to enrich himself more. And I'm trying to tell him, I can prove you wrong in case after case after case. So if I ask you, what would you tell my Swedish viewers here? Why do you support Trump, and why do you think they're wrong when they say a lot of negative stuff about Donald Trump?
Well, I think the first misconception is that some people think Trump is perfect and he always makes the best move. And just because you like Trump or are a super fan of him doesn't mean every single thing he does you love. You know, you might have a husband or a wife that you love, and you don't like every single thing they do. You know, you might have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a friend, and you know you're super loyal to them and you love them, but you don't like everything they do. And it's the same with Trump. That's the first thing. People have to get this idea out of their mind that you're just like a Trump worshiper.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You can't get to that point, even though some people do. But he just seems to put America first, which really matters to us. He's not arguing for illegal. He's not arguing for immigrants. He's not arguing for other countries. And he, first of all, he's just charismatic. That's what pulls you in as an American. And he takes a stand on certain principles in a way that gets backlash that you respect. He's not always saying the most acceptable, smooth, easy thing to say. And then when you look into the policies more and more, like the logic of a border wall, or the logic of not giving benefits to illegals, or the logic of not hyper-taxing millionaires, you just start to see like, okay, this guy is trying to put us in the right direction. And then when you go to his events and you see him in person, you see that he's hanging out with black people backstage, or you see him that he's got minorities on his staff. He's got every type of person on his staff. He's got white people. And he's so interactive and so sweet and so...
That's what
there.
People don't see, how nice he is. Everybody who meets him backstage, like Bill Maher did in the White House, they say, oh my God, who is this crazy guy on TV? He was so nice. He was taking care of me.
He gives you full attention when you're in front of him. You know, you've gotten to meet him quickly. We've gotten to meet him quickly. And where he really sits and talks to you. And he's like there. And having been around different people in like Turning Point USA or in other political spheres in the US, I can tell you, most of them are not there when they meet you. And Trump is, and he's got a million times more things going on. And also, when you just go to the atmosphere of an event, that's one thing it's hard for Swedes to understand. You see the reality of what's going on. Like you're a huge music guy. You go to a concert, you can see if that performer musician has energy.
Exactly.
And you see that when you go to a Trump event. And you see it not happen when you go to other events. I've been to a Nikki Haley event in South Carolina when she was running for president, and I was like, okay, this woman is a paid politician. Like,
Yeah.
It's that obvious. But I think on the outside, for like Swedes, why wouldn't you want someone in charge of your country that prioritizes your country and your people?
That's the second question here. Like, when you talk about Trump and people, they of course hear and see negative things about him all the time here because our media is copying CNN. So it's I'm not surprised. But I mean, if you see 4 years of Biden,
right,
and Trump has been president now again for 9 months, and he has done so much for the states, but yet people are focusing on the small problems you can find with Trump. They don't focus on the good things they have succeeded with already. And they never say, wow, it's so much better than Biden at least. They never complained about Biden. My friends never said a bad word against Biden for 4 years.
Which is insane because your friends, right, they will dissect the one quote that Trump maybe said not the best at one press conference out of his full packed schedule. And yet they will not criticize Biden for doing a minimal amount of press conferences and interviews over 4 years.
And I meet a lot of people, oh, he's doing it for money. Are you kidding me? He has spent so much of his own money, it's ridiculous.
More court cases that he's had to pay money on?
$100 million just for the court case, I heard.
No, his life would be way easier if he just focused on making money.
Way easier. And I mean, power, but what power? Every time he's doing this, he understands that if he doesn't win the next election, they're going to put him in jail again, or try to at least. He needs to win the Republican Party needs to hold the House.
And the biggest thing I would tell people to really, for them to gain a respect for Trump, even if you don't like him, is think about what he's done with some of his schedules. Okay, for instance, he just did before you even get to the trip, he's got the weight of the United States and the world on his shoulders. He's got people on his staff telling him he needs to do this thing, do that. He goes on the news, he sees all these attacks, which first, that wears you down. Think about when you have a friend or a family member who says something bad about you, you think about it and you have to push yourself to get over it maybe, right? That's not 14 different news networks. That's not 10 different protesting groups. You have all this negative energy coming at you. Then, with all that, he has a family like, we all do, or most of us do. Then he takes a huge trip over to the Middle East to deal with the Israel-Palestine peace deal, where he's got to do a press conference in front of the whole world. Then he has to meet with the leaders backstage, and he's getting criticized for every single thing he does.
And then Saudi Arabia.
And then after that, he's got to come back to the White House, fly internationally, and do a presentation for Charlie Kirk's Medal of Freedom, which is a sensitive topic. He's got to watch what he says. He's got to take care of the people there while dealing with everything else around the world. And yet when we do a travel day for 3 hours to New York or to Paris, and we have to call some people and deal with a little work on an email, we're like wiped out.
Yeah, exactly.
But that should gain respect.
And also, every time on Air Force One, he opens the door there to the media,
to the press.
And they ask him question after question after question until somebody says, who are you from? Politico, you're fake news. And then it takes another one. But I mean, even the left-wing media said last week that when they flew home from Israel and Saudi to the Charlie Kirk event there, they said that he didn't sleep 1 hour for 36 hours.
He keeps going.
They went to sleep on the plane, and 1 hour later he was knocking on the door. Hello, we have new questions here. Come on, wake up. So I don't know what he's on, but I mean, I've heard for 30 years now that he even said himself at some TV shows in the 80s that he sleeps around 3 hours a night. He says, I'm not a sleeping guy. I don't need to sleep. And he's 79, almost 80, he still doesn't sleep that much.
And just that, I think, should gain the respect of your friends, even if he says some offensive things or maybe he doesn't handle some things the best. The respect he should gain just for that, when you compare it to your own life and stuff that tires you out with responsibilities.
But look at RFK, Democrat, right? And you have Tulsi Gabbard. And you have other people like Bill Maher, who went to the White House thanks to Kid Rock inviting him or helping out with that. Everybody that meets Trump just for a little while and talk to him, speak to him, and hear him talk about his family or policies or having a nice dinner, or he's a completely different person when he's private than as president. or even when he was in opposition.
Tell us what he was like when you met him.
I had a fantastic time when I met him in the 90s at Trump Tower when I was there trying to promote the Swedish golf cart. But that was old, and I met him in his office. He was really nice there. I think it was the mid-90s, something like that.
Did he have like a presence about him when you met him then?
Yeah, I mean, we went into Trump Tower and went up to an elevator. And there was no guard there at this point. So we just went in the elevator and a Trump office, I don't remember, 66th floor or something, I don't remember exactly. We walked out and a woman secretary said, where are you going? We want to talk to Donald Trump. We're from Sweden. Do you have an appointment? No, but tell him we're from Sweden. And he heard it. It's like, oh, they're from Sweden, let him in. So we just came in and we showed him the golf cart and we talked some business. I don't have time with that, but I can give you some connection to some golf stores. Call this guy, he knows everybody and so on. And they want some coffee or something. And he was very, very nice. And I remember that. So in 2016, when I lived in Delray Beach, I told my friend Rolf that
In Florida,
in Delray Beach, he had one of his first rallies at the Doral in Miami Beach, his golf course in Miami. So I said that, Rolf, we can just click on 2 tickets here and go to Miami tomorrow. I want to talk to Donald Trump. If we're ever going to meet him, it's going to be now, he said. So we checked into a hotel in Miami Beach and we went there. And we saw the rally, we walked around the Doral, and afterwards we went into the bar. And my friend Rolf says, he's coming over there. So I ran up to him and he had like 6 bodyguards and I fell into them. Almost knocked him into a wall. I said, hey, Donald. I didn't say, he wasn't president then. This was in October 2016. So, hey, Donald, can I have a selfie? I'm from Sweden. Oh, of course. Quick. And then I said, I'm from Sweden. I met you in Trump Tower with the golf carts many years ago. Oh, yeah, I remember. I don't have time now. I got to talk to all of these people here. But I'll talk to you later. So then he walked around and said hello to everybody. And my friend was filming all this, so I have a video of this that I've showed sometimes on my channel. And people were screaming there when they saw the selfie because it was kind of funny. But 2 days later, my friend calls me in Delray Beach when I was in the shower, and he's like...
Did you talk to him?
Yeah, I talked to him. I talked to him for like 2-3 minutes. I told him a little slogan that I made up. So, Donald, don't forget about this now. When you become president, please buy Sweden and make us great again. So 2 days later... my friend Rolf calls me, Tim, Donald Trump is on CNN, he's talking about you and me. What are you talking about? Come over here, run out here from the shower. And he was like, I met 2 Swedish guys, they're smarter than some Americans. They told me to buy Sweden and make them great again. I might take them up on their offer. So maybe a couple of months later he was talking about buying Greenland, and Rolf told me, Tim, he never heard you correctly. He talked about Greenland now, you said Sweden. But it was kind of fun. He remembers stuff and he laughs.
That's
and
impressive.
Yeah.
That he remembers stuff and he has the presence of mind. Like when we met him at a big rally, that he had the presence of mind not only when he saw our little sign about her being from Slovenia, but then to come down and talk to us when he's got all these people bothering him and he's got the next event. It's just, that should cause people to respect him, just that. I mean, I showed you I got a personal letter from Donald Trump. And I sent him a letter and asked him, about coming to Florida for an interview, that I've never been to the White House, and said that I was his biggest supporter in Sweden, that I supported him on all the elections on Swedish state TV and radio. And he sent me a personal letter and thanked me for it. And as you saw, it's signed the 4th of November. It's the day before the election last year. So he takes time to read his own mail, which I know he does. He reads all of his mail, even if it takes time. I sent it in early September, and it takes 10 days to get over to the States. So let's say he got it in the middle of September, my letter. It's signed 4th of October. Why do you sign a letter to a Swedish guy with a little YouTube channel the day before the American election? I mean, just taking time to it, just even thinking about it, instead of just, right.
So people are judging him because of what the media is saying. And how many lies are they saying on MSNBC and CNN year after year after year? Just the one thing about good people on both sides.
Oh my God.
Just that.
When you watch the actual clip,
yeah,
it makes sense what he was saying.
Of course.
Yeah,
and I have friends here in Sweden, and they say that he's a psychopath and he's a warmonger and he's this and that. As far as I can see, he has been a part of so-called 8 peace deals now. everything from Serbia, Kosovo to India, Pakistan, and so on. And he's trying hard with Ukraine and Russia too.
And the thing that I just learned in the interview with the Freedom News, how do you say it in Swedish?
Frihetsnytt.
Frihetsnytt, was that how different Trump is with his strong arm mentality and being more peace through strength mentality when it comes to remigration or deportations. How in Sweden, or first Trump has told these countries down in like Venezuela, in Latin America, hey, we're going to fly these people back and you're going to take them back. If not, you guys are going to get some tariff or some other problem. And yet Sweden, instead of doing that to Somalia or these other countries, they're not proposing some penalty on Somalia if they don't take people back, but they're offering money to the Somalian government to take these people back.
We also have in our, it's called återvandring, which means basically a return back freely.
Yeah, where they offer money to the...
Yeah, we give them some cash plus the air ticket and so on for the whole family if they return to their own home. But even if they do that, our government doesn't understand that. They can say yes to that and go down, they will just come back anyway. Because they have other family and friends to take them in through Denmark or whatever. So it's a joke.
That's true!
That's the whole joke, all of that.
Because if they keep the openness, the ability to come so lenient or relaxed, they can just... That's a genius way to pocket 30 grand from the government.
Of course. And then you just send some stay, some go home, and then they arrange so that they go down on vacation and they go back and they just borrow each other's passports. They all look the same anyway. I say that as a joke sometimes. But it's so easy for them to cheat, you know. Wow. But now Donald Trump is stopping all the money to Colombia. People are saying that he's starting a war against Venezuela, but I don't think it's a war if you blow up 10 cartel factories doing fentanyl and coke and stuff. If you blow them up and some boats, that's not a war. That's making sure that the drugs are not coming into the States. I wish our government did something like that. And when I talk to my Swedish friends and I say, hey, who would you want to be president instead of Donald Trump? If you think about America and the world, do you even realize what would have happened if Kamala won that election? I mean, they don't think to the next step to see what's going on. And even if you don't like everything about Donald Trump, as you say, I always compare to what has been and what could be, you know. I think he's fantastic and I can live with his flaws. I can live with some of his crazy stuff because it's not as dangerous as Biden and Blinken and those people were really, really dangerous.
Yeah.
How do your friends in America or your family, how do they see the situation with 15 to 20 million illegals? How did they react during these 4 years of Biden?
Most people I know are pretty conservative. A few liberals. And the liberals just always justify everything. They always have some justification about why it's a human right or why it's okay. But even some of the liberals, even some really outspoken ones they had to admit, like, okay, the illegal thing is really messed up. But the conservatives were pissed. We were so mad because you started to see the effect in small towns. That's the thing. You started to see the Hispanics in your Walmart that don't speak English and only pay cash, and they all come to buy their groceries on Sunday, and they're waiting outside of the construction stores or Home Depot. So most people were really pissed, mostly about the border, which I think was the biggest rallying cry Trump had in 2024, because when you ask people, that was the biggest thing we were pissed off about, was obviously Biden was not mentally sharp, but it was...
to say the least.
But it was the illegal thing. Everybody was pissed about that.
But now when it's more or less proved that the 2020 election was rigged, why is not more media in America coming out and state that, yeah, when we look at it closely, it has to be rigged because of this and this? I mean, I can see the evidence clearly, how they did the mail-in ballots and everything that came into the trucks that came in from New York to Pennsylvania. I mean, I was on Swedish state TV all of that night with the Swedish top politicians. Our former Prime Minister Carl Bildt was there. And I said that, how is it even possible? He was leading with 700,000 votes. I go to bed and wake up and...
Yeah, I know.
That and Georgia and some other things.
And they wouldn't let them go monitor in Philadelphia. There was conservative activists trying to go monitor the vote counting. There was a huge movement to try to stop that. And
well, it's good that it happened in that sense that it's more important that he's president now than. But on the other hand, we have to live with 20 million illegals that it's difficult to throw out. How come so many Americans are against the thing he's doing with the National Guard to try to help the police, try to help Chicago, Illinois? Why are the mayor and the governor even Minnesota, but in Illinois, why is it for their own political long life to stay in, not to lose their job, or do they think that it's authoritarian, that he becomes a king and he's Hitler and all of that? But what's the reason that they say no to National Guard from Trump?
One, I don't think the Democratic National Committee would allow them to say yes. From what I've learned, working for a few guys.
The DNC, you mean?
The DNC, yeah. That you do take orders from above with the DNC. I had this whole thing get explained to me by a guy who was getting traction in California that will get you to this position and this position. You just have to, do what we say and vote on certain things that we tell you to vote on. So that's number one that people don't think about, and I've heard firsthand. Two, it's a lot of the voting base in Chicago, in Illinois, that has elected these guys. They have an anti-Trump attitude. So the more you feed into hating Trump and pushing against Trump, the more support you're already going to get from your base. And so it keeps them staying in power. If you already got elected by people that hate Trump, even if it's a logical thing by Trump to make it safer, if everybody hates him, I got to feed into that. Make sense? It
makes sense, but it's also crazy because,
It's also it caters to the illegals, which is all the people that they've allowed to come into Chicago, for instance, and so then they can have their votes eventually because they don't want to have voter ID. And if you say that, we hate Trump and we stood up to the National Guard, you'll get all the illegal votes.
I think the biggest problem with Trump is that...
Why do you think it is? Why do you think that they...
I think it's what you said, plus the fact that, they will probably lose their job and maybe they will even get maybe people will start to vote on Republicans in those states and cities. I don't know, but I have a hard time understanding New York, Minnesota, Portland. I mean, you can see that it's not one block. I have friends that live in Czech Republic now. One very famous artist, Dan Reed from Dan Reed Network. He's telling me, he was in Portland over this summer, and he tells me it's not one day here or there. It's Antifa, block after block, and this after this, and so on. And the only way you can get them out is to bring the National Guard or military to help the police, and actually take them and move them to another place, jail or deport them or something. When Rudy Giuliani became mayor in New York, it took him 3 to 6 months, and I think it was a couple of thousand criminals in New York State that moved to New Jersey. So he got rid of the crime, but crime didn't go away. It just moved to another place.
That's one of the biggest things that's great about the U.S. I see is that you can avoid these bad things because the country's so big and because you have such big conservative pockets in the U.S. where you can go and be around people that think like Florida, and you don't have to see the problems, like versus in Europe, in your country, if your country decides to let everybody in, like Sweden, it's pretty hard to escape it unless you go to the super countryside. Even here, you can be in the big nice areas, but you'll see pockets of it. The people come out, and you see the kebab shops in the center, even though your neighborhood might be nice and built up. That's one of the advantages the U.S. has. Like you said, it's a lot bigger.
But here in Malmö, for instance, or in Stockholm, our kebab shops or falafel shops or kiosks here, it's not the Muslims coming here. We are going to them. So they eat at their own kebab shops in their area.
In their community.
Yeah, so they don't come here just because a Muslim that lives there doesn't go to a kebab shop.
They just set up the shop to make money here.
So we go to them, and so they are basically assimilating in a sense because they speak Swedish, they go to our pubs, they are... It's a different story with that. But what I was going to say is that I think that the problem with Donald Trump is that he's too strong for America, because you have so many people hating him that he can never unite the country. If it was Obama, it doesn't matter if he was a shitty president. It was calm in America. George W. Bush, wars and stuff, but it was calm. As soon as Trump became president, half of the country started to hate him. They're going to hate him till he's dead.
Yeah.
He can never unite that country. So even if he does great, even if he means well, he wants to do America great again, but he will only succeed to make red states great.
Yeah, but he doesn't. A lot of us, we don't think he needs to unite the country. We're like, we know that they're so far left. Like, let them be mad.
Yeah.
We're happy somebody's just taking a stand.
That's what I say about Sweden and Norway. Why don't we send our leftists 50% to Norway? Bring the right guys here. We have two perfect country, or one perfect country and one shitty country. No, but I mean, yeah, it's difficult. But I'm going to see Florida now for a month.
Yeah,
I'm going in a couple of days, and it's going to be interesting to meet my friends in Miami. I'm trying to get into Mar-a-Lago. I'm going to interview some people down there and see if I can get to meet the Don again.
My last question for you would be, why do you like the U.S.? As a Swede that's spent a lot of time in the U.S., but you really know Sweden, why do you like America?
When I came to America in 1987, I said some things to my friend. He's a New Yorker, originally from Colombia, and he had been to Sweden in 1982, and we kept in contact with postcards and some phone calls once a year, basically. And I came over to 87, and he picked me up at JFK Airport, and I said something stupid, but I thought it was funny. I said, "Hey, Tito." His name is Tito. "I have never seen so many American cars in my life." That's because you're in America, stupid. And I was like, yeah, you're right, And then I started to know his friends in Rutgers University in New Jersey, came to Florida, and I immediately understood that if I'm going to succeed in life, it has to be in America. I'm an entrepreneur. The type of business I wanted to do was much easier there. It takes 10 minutes to start a company. It takes 10 minutes to open up a bank account. I like the beaches, I like the food, I like the music, I liked everything. Sweden is too small for me. But I love to be in Sweden when I'm in Stockholm or in Malmö in the summer, in the spring, my family and friends. But, for 30 years I've been to the States back and forth basically every year except during the pandemic. And many years I've been to the States 8 months and been 4 months here. Like 3 months there, 1 month here and so on. And I just feel that it's the greatest country in the world in that sense, but it's also a problem country in so many ways when it comes to healthcare, unemployment in certain areas, crime is crimes with guns and so on is worse in America. But I'm trying to explain that for Swedish people also, that we have gun crime here in Sweden now due to the immigration. We never had that before, and it's not the gun killing, it's the person using the gun killing people. So why is it, for instance, that those states or cities in America that has the highest gun regulations, that's where the most shootings are, so to say? Well, I don't know. To answer that question real quick again, I just love the atmosphere, I love the people, I like the environment, and there are some problems in America, some things that I don't like, but I think it's the best way for me to live and work, and especially Florida. Florida has come to be my second home, if not my first home. I would love to live there and visit here. Now I live here and visit there, but who knows what's coming.
So could you say that you love the freedom in America?
Well, I've always thought about that question when I hear it from Americans, because we are just as free here. Maybe not in other countries in Europe, but there is no limit in Sweden to our freedom, as far as I know, if you don't have a specific question. But of course it's easier to come to America, I guess, as an immigrant, to start a business, to become a success in life. Just like, for instance, Patrick Bet-David is explaining on his PBD podcast, Valuetainment. He explains he was a refugee from Iran coming to Germany, going to America. And I think that freedom is bigger in America than here. But I think it's the same kind of freedom, but we're a smaller country, and we have different regulations. But Sweden is freer than most countries in Europe.
Yeah, we can see it too being here. We can see just how much it's elegant, it's modern. They do certain things. There's a lot of government, let's say, intervention in your life, and programs and taxes, and then how that they give you programs to get certain things because the government will subsidize it. But we see the country's great. And it's
I think it's a good, for a small country, I don't think it would work in America. But if I go to the ER or if I go to the hospital, you know, 3-4 months later, I get an invoice of $20. That's what it costs, you know.
It's insane.
And if you look at the tax, in that sense, what do I get for my tax money, so to say? And some people are complaining, but I think that we get plenty in Sweden for our taxes when it comes to roads, environment things, and we have clean tap water, and I mean they do things to keep the nation going in a good way. It's worth paying for, but it sort of destroys it a little bit if too many people come from the Middle East or other countries and they live on the Swedish taxpayers' money. And that's what Donald Trump is talking about and his party. That too many people are coming in, 20 million illegals. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Somebody is paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other last question for me?
Yeah. Where are you going now? What are you doing with your channel, and what's next on your Europe tour here?
Well, hopefully we can get an invite, thanks to my amazing outreach manager, to the Trump, Putin, Viktor Orban summit in Budapest in the next week or two, because we'll be near there, kind of. And I would fly there in a second if we can get into that.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
But I'm going to Warsaw. We say Warsaw.
Warsaw, yeah, Warsaw.
To see maybe what it's like. We're a country where they have real strict illegal immigration set up, and connect with some of the news people over there. Visegrad 24 is a political thing going on, and then gonna finish up the Europe tour and try to get settled and crank out a lot more videos to take it to the next level. I don't know what that exact next level is. Just trying to get more connections and more opportunities, because I like interacting and covering things and talking with people, and not just only making my videos at home, you know. So do more stuff like this where I get to meet cool people like you and see really what's going on and hear from people like yourself, and not just sit at home and watch the news and think I know everything. So
yeah, I want to tell if any American viewers are seeing this, I just want to let people know that my channel Tvtimsweden is a Swedish channel, but I'm going to add an American part of that, Tvtim America or Tvtim something. So when I'm in the States filming and doing stuff about America, which I will do now from next week, when you see Tvtim America, it's in English. So if anybody sees this, I would love for you to subscribe on my channels as well, you know. So
thanks, Tim.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.